All right, so today I have the privilege and honor of interviewing not only my good friend, but someone who started from the bottom, from where I came from, as a broker and worked his way up to be a successful investor, father, a husband, Shane Decker, my man.
Dude, it's so good to be here. It's so good to be here.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. And I love what you have here. This is such a beautiful setup. Just coming into your office.
Appreciate it, man.
You
Appreciate
hosting
it.
us and our team. This is special, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much.
Listen, man, I've been on the sidelines kind of watching you. And remember, we used to kind of talk a little bit more when we were on the broker side. And let's start kind of how we met. And I think I remember, I don't know if you do, it was a flyer that I kind of blasted out after I closed the deal. And you called me up. You said, hey, I got your flyer here. And I think it was Miami Cold Storage.
I think so too. The one fronting I-95?
Yeah.
So that's a great place to start, because it almost like that right there is the difference maker. Picking up the phone and making the call and making the connection. And I feel like I've been doing that for 10 plus years consistently. And most of every deal that we've sourced and that we've acquired, and any deal that I've been a part of, has been through someone.
Yeah.
Someone that's reached out to me and said, you know what, we had a conversation a few weeks back, take a look at this. Yeah. Or I have something that I want to show you. But people are not going to come to you completely blind and cold. You have to foster those relationships. Right. And I feel like, I don't know if it's natural or if it's something that I have built just over the years. But as I get older, I'm realizing that relationships in this business, it's everything. And that goes back to like how we're here. It started with me picking up the call saying, dude, congratulations. Yeah. That's a big one.
That's it, bro.
I know that area well. I know that property. I see it every single day. Like, you're a beast for closing that. Let's get together.
Right.
And then kicking it off.
That's it. Dude, some call it a gift, but I think, man, I tell my guys all the time, I'm like, look, all you have to do when you see a closed deal, pick up the phone, call the owner and say, hey, congratulations on this amazing deal. Congratulate them. Like, this is awesome. And kick off the relationship. That's a great way. And look at that. We're sitting here now today. You know what I'm saying?
It's wild. And you look younger than ever. The first time we met.
I don't know, dude. I have a bunch of gray hairs here. So.
Not at all, man.
So, man, listen, I want all the viewers to know, dude, a little bit about yourself. You started, same as me as a broker. We met as brokers, but how you pivoted, and talk a little bit about, obviously you're married, you have 3 kids just like me.
Yeah.
Dude, right? 2 girls and a boy.
Yep.
You want to talk about that too?
Yeah, absolutely. So the broker part of my career was more out of necessity. I worked with a prolific operator and owner, well known in South Florida, big industrial guy.
Janae, right?
Janae.
Yeah.
And he taught me the game of investing, and spent so many hours with him in his car, driving like his property, his portfolio. But I started out as a maintenance manager, got into property management, got into leasing, ultimately got into acquisitions, and then we started a brokerage company together, and then I ended up going on my own.
Dude, so you really started from the bottom. It was like property management, ground
yeah,
zero.
So
that's awesome.
I remember I got a call from my former employer, my mentor, who taught me this business. And that's something that's huge for anyone that wants to get into commercial real estate. Like, if I'm trying to be a top real estate professional in South Florida, I'm calling George Smith. Right. Like, I'm gonna reach out to the top, the guys that are the most successful, the most prolific, the ones that are transacting the most, that are building, that are on their way up. I'm gonna call that guy and say, let me be around you. Like, I want to learn from you. I want to be a sponge. That's the best way to accelerate. Mm-hmm. So I knew I didn't want to go to law school. I didn't want to get an MBA. Right. I barely graduated undergrad, but I knew I had the ability to connect with people and to learn quickly through someone giving me the guide. Yeah. And since day one, being in college, I was a server. I was never.
What'd you go to college for, by the way?
Went to UF and I studied like business administration.
Okay, cool.
Something very, very simple.
Yeah.
Met my wife at college, the mother of, our 3 children.
By the way,
but
bro, they're freaking beautiful.
You as well. You as well.
they're
It seems like all your
beautiful
kids got
kids,
your
dude.
incredible blue eyes.
Actually, they're my wives.
Are
We
they?
both have light eyes.
Nice. But I went to college, and really my first job was I worked at Chipotle. And I walked in there and I said, I'm going to be the best worker of all time. That lasted about 8 months.
Yeah.
And then my girlfriend at the time, now wife, said, you have to be a server at this restaurant. There's a 2-hour wait on a Tuesday, and I'm sure the servers are getting incredible tips.
Yeah.
You're making $8 an hour
Right.
rolling burritos for a living. I was like, done. I walked in there, went to my roommate at the time, borrowed a suit from him,
Yeah.
went to the manager of this really high-end restaurant, and I said, I'll be the best worker. It was the same pitch I gave to Chipotle. I'll be the best. The next day I started, and for 2.5 years, I worked my way up to a top server there, but learning the trade.
Right.
And then that was also a stepping stone because
Yeah.
I said I knew nothing about serving,
Right.
and I became the top server at this restaurant.
Learning, taking
by
notes.
learning from the best, being around the top servers, understanding how they would sell, how they would double sell, upsell,
Yeah.
and how they would connect with their tables. And that's when I learned, connecting with people just on a different level, in an authentic way is what it's all about. From there, I went on to tech sales, got a job out of college. Knew I didn't want to be in tech sales, so lasted 2 years. And there was something inside of me that said, I want to be in real estate. I love real estate. Ever since I was a kid, my biggest passion was driving through neighborhoods and seeing the big homes.
Yeah.
I've always been into that.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
one day I want my name on buildings.
Yeah.
Just as like 10-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old. And I had an opportunity with Ben
So
Genet.
how'd that come about?
Yeah, so my wife's parents have known Ben for years.
Okay.
And that's talk about connections,
Yeah.
right? It's like who you know, that person may know someone, voice your passions.
Right.
Voice yourself. And I've always been big
Super
into
important.
vocalizing. So I went to my in-laws and I said, I don't like this job because I can't see myself being the CEO of this company.
Right.
I'm doing well, and that job in tech sales, it taught me the business of closing at volume. In other words, if I would make 50 calls, I would close a deal. So I said, I got to make 100 to close 2.
Awesome.
I got to make a few hundred to kind of increase my ability to make a little more money.
Right.
And I then got good on the phones,
Yeah.
and I would reach out to people completely cold,
Yeah.
which accelerated the ability to be successful in real estate, which is all about reaching out to people cold, developing a relationship, and then being in front of them. So my in-laws connected me with Ben Genet, and he said, I wrote a book, it's called Born Jumping. I want you to read it and just enjoy it. So I sat down with him very briefly. He gave me the book. The next week I went to him and I said, I read the whole book. It was like a 50-page book. It's probably the only book I've ever read in my life. And I sat down with him and I was,
Was the book good? Like,
yeah, it was
you took
great.
some good
Yeah,
stuff
it was,
out of it?
it was
good?
great. He failed the bar 5 times. So it was all about
Really?
never quitting on your dreams.
Wow, that's
So
cool.
he
That's
bar-
cool.
he like barely got through law school, couldn't pass the bar, finally did it.
Wow.
But it was about really the power of self-will
Perseverance.
and perseverance. And it's something I could relate to because I was like, I'm not that good in school.
Yeah.
But everything that I've applied myself to, I've been very successful at. And I've not quit on some of the things that I have eventually become successful in. So I sat down with him a few times, and I was impressed by the book and like his story. And he came to me and said, next week I'm gonna fire my property manager, and you're gonna manage my portfolio of millions of square feet of industrial in
Just
South
like
Florida.
that.
Just like that.
Like day one?
Day one. So day one, I showed up. He told me that he was going to have the property manager
Kinda guide you, no?
Yeah, guide me for about a month. But he called me on Sunday at like midnight, and he said, "You're starting tomorrow," and I let go over. So you're starting, and you got to figure this whole thing out. Got to
Really?
collections, property management, running a
Wow,
maintenance
dude.
crew.
That's
So that
insane.
to me was my Harvard MBA.
Yeah, for sure. Hands down.
And we had an awesome run together.
Yeah.
And spent years with his mentorship and his guidance, and fell in love with small bay industrial, which I didn't know was an asset class until I was paired up with him. And then when I left my run with him, I completely went on my own, and that's when I got into brokerage because one full year passed and I couldn't close a deal being an investor
Right.
because we were in 2018,
Right.
19,
Yeah.
maybe 18, 2017, 18,
Right.
the market was at a peak. This was pre-COVID,
Yeah.
and we hit like that top point in the market.
Right.
And I
It was
wanted
kind
to
of
make
a standstill market.
yeah, it was. And I wanted to make sure that the first deal that I did for my investor base was an absolute grand slam. But I ended up getting into brokerage.
So you started a brokerage with him? You partnered?
No,
with
no,
him?
no. So
Oh,
completely,
separate?
completely on my own.
Okay.
I ended up getting into brokerage. And the reason why I got into brokerage is one full year after I left him, I didn't close one deal and I didn't make a penny. My wife stopped working. We had 2 kids back to back.
Really?
And I said, I can't close a deal and buy it. I can't, like, there's nothing in the market. I'm reaching out to hundreds of people
Yeah.
that are just above the price point that I feel like is a deal.
Right.
Let me use all of these leads that I've canvassed over the past year and then broker them because I went broke. So I ended up becoming a broker for a full year.
Oh, because you were trying to buy them
I was trying to buy
with your investors.
and I ran out of money. My wife wasn't working. We went through her savings. She saved us.
Wow, dude.
So she went to law school. She had a great corporate job working mergers and acquisitions.
Talk about
She was-
taking a leap.
Yeah, she was a badass attorney. We had $80,000 saved in our account. It went to zero. And that's when I said, I got to start brokering to make some money because I
Sure.
have 2 kids in
Of course.
diapers,
How old were your kids at that time, at that point?
like 18 months and newborn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about pressure at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
it.
you felt it, and you know that's really
Jump,
what
just
molds
jump.
you.
Yeah.
yeah. So that was the transition of being an investor and basically not having the ability to close a deal for a year because we were at a peak, and then I became a broker, and then COVID hit, and it accelerated our ability to acquire at scale because a lot of people were scared in that window,
Right.
and we ended up picking up a lot of stuff there.
Right.
But that's the story in a nutshell.
Yeah. So you brokered what for how long?
It was a short window. It was
Really?
it was probably like a good 8 to 12 months. I ended up landing
So
2,
we kind of
3
met in
deals.
that period then
Yeah.
when you were kind of brokering.
Yeah.
Or kind of shifting from property management over to the
Yeah.
brokerage. So that's how we met. Okay.
Yeah, for one full year, I
I
basically
thought you were like a power broker, you know, doing this for years of brokering, but obviously the property management experience alone, you know, gives you the experience of knowing
we acquired a whole bunch of deals on behalf of Ben,
Okay.
and then
So you partnered with Ben in all those deals.
yeah, on various deals, and I was in charge of repositioning those assets, doing a lease-up strategy, doing the mark-to-markets, meeting with the tenants directly, and transforming those assets. But when I left him, he was basically running all the equity in the capital stack. He was signing the debt, et cetera. I was just sourcing some of the deals in our latter stint together. Great opportunities. We ended up partnering on a few deals until I completely went on my own.
Right.
But the tough part was switching that identity. I was so connected with him for 5 years.
Right.
Then going completely on my own, and then
With
not
new
being,
capital.
With new capital,
Yeah.
and then not being able to close a deal for a full year.
Again?
Well, no. Right after we left,
okay.
that year took place, and I couldn't close a deal. And then I said, George, I'm getting into brokerage.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I gotta close some deals here.
Yeah.
What are you working on?
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of buyers, potential sellers.
Right.
Let's see if we could do some business together. And in that window of brokering for 8 to 12 months, I ended up closing a bunch of deals. I was able to put some money in my pocket and then focus purely on buying
investment.
and building Infinity.
Good, awesome. So you already had a vision. You had your vision set. You just had hurdles, and you kind of had to roll with the punches to get to where you wanted to be. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Listen, talk about how did you initially finance your first deal? Let's say on your own.
Yeah.
How'd that all play out? Because a lot of people want to know how to get started. How do they actually get the capital? I'm sure you had a lot of relationships, but
Yeah,
kinda-
I would say the biggest piece of advice for someone that's getting into commercial real estate in their first deal, you need to make sure that first deal is a grand slam where you're picking it up significantly below market. There's a story to quickly accelerate the net revenue.
Yeah, set the tone.
And you potentially have it appraised for millions of dollars more than what the ask is, and it's got to be a story. Every investor, now we have institutional partners, we have the fun, but every single deal that we've acquired today and the deals that we're under contract right now, they have a story. And if you're going to bring an investor an opportunity, it can't be on the market. It can't be a market cap rate. It can't be a market IRR. It's got to be something that is through the roof, exceptional, to where you pitch it to an investor and they're like, how'd you get this thing? And I knew that. I'm 34 right now. The first deal that I closed, I was 28, and I'm a 28-year-old, fresh start. I don't have my own company. I don't even have insurance. I don't have any money in the bank, really. And I'm going to investors on my first deal, and I'm raising millions of dollars, and I'm selling them on my ability to execute. But if you look at my net worth, which is in the negatives, and if you look at my experience executing on behalf of my own, I don't have that. Then I have to pitch a lender to finance.
So how'd you pitch them? Go back.
So,
how'd you pitch them on, let's say, zero capital, zero acquisitions on your own? I'm sure you had to show your experience with Janae and all that, but
it was the deal, and I want to take you through that first opportunity. 70,000 square foot warehouse park in West Palm Beach, fronting the turnpike. 2 35,000 square foot buildings, came with 2 acres of outdoor storage connected to the warehouses. In that period that I was looking for deals, that 1 year period, I identified this asset. And I was like, man, mom and pop owned. They built these buildings. It was the Pepin warehouses at the time, 7673 Hooper Road, if you want to Google map it. And a lot of the deals that I've sourced have been through Google Maps. And then I make the call and then I drive there. But I sourced this deal on Google Earth, Google Maps, and I said, man, 2 buildings.
Here you go, guys. Google Earth.
Yeah,
For all those people out there that don't have CoStar, there you go.
You don't need CoStar. What you need is the property records, which is free, and you need Google Maps, which is free, and you need a cell phone, which you're gonna have to pay $100 a month for.
There you go.
But that deal, I identified the assets just on Google Earth. Next day I drove there. A week later, I tried to find the person's phone number. I saw that there was a leasing sign. And then I realized that
you can get a lot from just the leasing sign.
Just the leasing sign.
Just the leasing sign alone.
If it's run in-house,
even better,
and the owners are managing it, or there's a family member that's managing it, that's a great in.
Yeah.
Because you meet with them and you talk to them.
You can relate to them because they're managing it. So you have a lot of...
Completely. So that deal, I saw that there was a leasing sign in the back corner. It said management leasing office, and there was a little phone number. I called that number 25 times, no one picked up. And I would actually called it outside of the office, and I would hear it ring. I was like, is there anyone in this office?
Really?
Someone please answer my call. I ended up going to the site and walking into one of the bays, and I went to one of the tenants, and I said, I'm looking for a warehouse. I know the park is full, but who is the owner, or who's the manager? Right. Who's the leasing professional? I can't find any phone numbers. Right. And she was like, and that person revealed it to me. It's a lady, it's a brother and a sister, but the lady really runs it. She's a great lady. The father passed away recently, who I've been here for 20 years. I got the whole story. Yeah. Her name was Melanie. He was like, if you need some space, text her or call her. She's wonderful. Yeah. Here's her cell phone number. That effort of walking into a warehouse, getting the owner's cell phone number, that was the multi-million-dollar difference.
That was the difference.
That equation.
Yep.
And that is what I encourage.
That's what a lot of people don't do.
Yeah,
they look from the Google Maps or even CoStar and say, okay, we can't get it, and they just keep going.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that you got to invest in.
Especially in Florida when it's 90 degrees, 90% of the time. If you're willing to dress decently well and knock on doors and present yourself well to gather information, you're going to get more than what you anticipated getting from being on the phone and kind of being behind closed doors. So I ended up talking to that tenant. He gave me her information. I cold called her and I said, this was the pitch, and this is the simple pitch. 70,000 square foot warehouse. I knew that deals were trading at $120 a pound, $130 a pound in that market. And this is 2019, right before COVID. The market was about $120, $130 for marketed, stabilized, small bay assets in that area. Now you're north of $200 a foot. Yeah. So knowing basically what the going in market pricing was, I said, I got to be about $50 a foot less than market.
Wow.
So if market's at 130, call it 80. If market's at 120, I got to be at 70. So I said $70 a foot over 70,000 square feet, that's $5 million flat. Yeah. So I called her and I said, Melanie, this is the pitch. I love your asset. I'm a top buyer of multi-tenant industrial sites all across Florida. We're a family-run business just like you guys. I want to offer you $5 million for your warehouse. If you're interested, please call me back. Left that voicemail. I ended up connecting with her. I called her a few times.
Right.
Didn't harass her. Once a week, I would dial her one time. Right. She ended up picking up, and she was like, "Is this Shane? I got your voicemail." And I said, "We're in for $5 million. If you're ever interested in selling, please call me." 13 months passed. And on August 4th, I guess 2019,
Wow.
which was my birthday,
Yeah.
I got a
It was
call
your birthday?
following up. I would send her a text message once a month. If the time is right, we're ready. You know, no pressure, no rush. Didn't pressure. When the time is right, let me know.
Right.
A lot of brokers will go in and say, "Give me financials, give me a rent roll," and they'll go in a little strong.
Right.
I didn't say I need anything. I said our offer is an all-cash deal. $5 million. We'll close quick. This is all we do. I didn't request anything from her.
Right.
She called me on my birthday and she said, "That $5 million offer, can you put that in a contract? My brother is a real estate attorney. I want to submit it to him." I put together a FAR contract, an 8-pager,
Nice.
$5 million, Shane Decker and Aura signs, and I sent her a DocuSign with the contract. The next day it was signed and executed.
Wow.
She called me.
That's
Yeah,
awesome,
yeah.
dude.
So she called me. So I said, you know what, before I excite anyone, even including myself, let me get a few lenders to basically engage in an appraiser. Because I want to get a legitimate appraisal to just identify the value of this asset.
Sure.
I know that will give me some ammunition when I raise capital
100%.
and for the lenders. Purchase price was at 5. The appraisal came in at 7.5. So we had $2.5 million worth of equity. Wow. The equity raise was $1.5 million because we took a $3.5 million piece of paper from a bank.
Wow.
So 1.5, the equity boost was 2.5. I went to my investors and I said, imagine buying a stock for $1 million, and right before they take it public, or let's say it goes public, it basically flips to a $2 million value in one day. That's what we have here. You have a 7-figure value pop in your equity position prior to close because of this appraisal. Someone got wind that I had the deal under contract, and someone called me and said, "I'll offer you $1 million for the deal. If you're gonna sign it to us, I'll wire you $1 million. I've been after this deal for a while. I've never been able to get in touch with that owner." And I thought to myself, should I make a quick mill? I'm broke.
Right.
Should I make a quick mill, or should I go through with this transaction? And I ended up going to my 3 closest friends. One was a family member, the other one was a best friend, and the other one was a very, very close friend of mine. And I said, this is an absolute home run. I want you to be a part of it. This is how we're gonna accelerate the revenue. And it's a $1.5 million raise. I'm raising from 3 people because I have $0 basically. Right. I want 500 from everyone. I'm not gonna make a penny from managing the deal until we refinance and you get 100% of your equity back, and then we're equal partners. So that's how I said it. I said, whether it takes 2 years to stabilize this thing, and we could get 100% of
no fees for nothing.
No fees.
And you're broke.
Yeah, I'm broke. I said, I have not done this. I want to prove it to you that this is an absolute winner.
Dude, that's awesome.
It's a $1.5 million equity placement. I think that 1.5 is worth 3 tomorrow. So there's a pop there. I feel really confident in taking your money. I'm going to treat it like my own. I don't have any money.
Dude, but that's how it is though.
So I got 3 guys to sign up. I went to Valley Bank and I said, the deal we got for 5, it appraised for 7.5. These are my 3 borrowers. They're a bunch of high net worth individuals. They love the deal.
And your experience, you told them.
Yeah, and I sold them on the opportunity. They got the appraisal, and we got the deal closed. You know, the really incredible part of the story was 38 month-to-month leases, and 6 months after we acquired the deal, I took all 38 tenants to market. No one left because there was nothing available in the market. I stabilized the asset.
Quick.
Valley ended up hiring another appraiser. It was valued at $12 million, like that, in 6 months. And then Valley funded an earnout. So they said, once you hit a trailing 3 on an NOI basis, based on a stabilized, I'll fund you the 1.5, which was my investor capital. So we bought the deal for 5. We got basically 3.5 and earn out for 1.5. I hit that debt coverage ratio, and then the 1.5 was initiated. So my investors got their $500,000 each, and every month thereafter, they've been receiving, you know, a cash flow dividend. And each one of those investors, they got $500,000 back, and they're each making about $150 to $200 a year on that deal each.
Wow,
you
dude,
know,
that's beautiful.
yeah. So
That's awesome.
That's how it started. That's how it started. And then it was, you gave me my money back. Where's the next deal? And the rest is history.
Now they're coming after you. They're like, Shane, where's the next deal?
But it's the deal. Right now, we're not in a position that we need to close transactions. So we still have those same core values. It's all about the deal. Thankfully, we've been very productive with our transactions and our acquisition volume, but it's still the same story. Off market, you know, the owner's in transition, or there's a decent amount of vacancy, or a tenant pulled out, and we have to invest $1.5 million to renovate and reposition, and the owner says, man, I lost my cash flow, but I bought it cheap, so I'm willing to make $4 million on the upside. If you guys could take on the 60% occupied building, whatever every deal has to have a story.
Yeah, there's a story for everything. So, dude, that's beautiful. I love that story, man. That's awesome. These investors, I'm sure they love you right now.
It's always been a dream. It's always been a dream to, and you've heard this for years, the best way to like make a friend is to make that person money. And I feel unbelievably fortunate that all of our deals to date have been a huge success.
Yeah.
But more so than that, it's being in a position that we right now act as money managers versus real estate investors. Real estate is our vertical to succeed.
That's the vehicle.
But it's the vehicle. We're money managers. And I love
Dude, there has to be no better feeling than making people money.
it's special. It's special, and I feel unbelievably grateful for like this position, that when someone wires me a $2 million check, their hard work has put them in a position to be liquid enough to write me a $2 million check, and I could take that 2 and turn it into 3.7 fast through the eye of finding opportunities and through people in the community sending us opportunities.
Dude, it's
and
the experience that you've created from the bottom, from property management, from dealing with the tenants, from doing the leasing, from knowing the market. All that work has paid off to where you're at today, where all these people now trust you, and now they're handing you the money like, hey, I've worked X amount of years for this, and I trust you because you have your track record proven in adding that value.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, anyone that wants to get into investing, whatever it is, we're in commercial real estate. We love this business. I know you love this business as much as I do. This is the vehicle. But if you are a roofing company, if you're an e-commerce company, and you feel like you have an ability to grow via investor capital, take it in. Don't be afraid of other people's money. If you really know how to run your business and identify opportunities in the marketplace, it's on you to leverage your ability to create appreciation in your dollar and their dollar, and it gives you the opportunity to scale. And it's a beautiful thing.
Being confident in your ability to perform and knowing what you do, I mean, there's no better feeling than that. Dude. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Now, I want you to share, that was an amazing success story. So give me a failure from your investment career. Give me something that a lot of these people, they always hear the good, right? They always hear the success. But let's talk about the failures. Let's talk about the hard times, the slugging it out, the times that you're heartbroken. I tell my guys, you're licking your wounds, go home, take some time, big deal falls apart. Like things that you've worked with for a long time. So everyone has that, and that's what makes an investor, an entrepreneur, that's what makes them who they are, going through these struggles, right? Going through the hard times to get to where they're at and coming out on the other side,
I mean, I literally have goosebumps right now because you're talking about the failures. There's been so many, and they're never gonna end. And there's like this story, it's a biblical story where there's this guy, he's stuck, and he like keeps like, he can't catch a break or catch a stride in his business. So he basically goes on his knees and he prays to God, and he says, I want to grow, and I want to create something for myself, and I want to build, and give me the strength to grow so I could really like make a dent on this planet. And a year goes by, and this gentleman experiences so much challenge, and he has all these like trials and all these challenges that he a year later is back on his knees, and he goes to God and he's like, it's been rough. This year has been really, really rough. I have been through so much shit. And I prayed a year ago that I wanted growth. And God's response to him is, I'm doing all of this for a reason. If you really want to expand and grow, you need to build character, and you're going to have to deal with the challenges that I'm putting in front of you. If you can get over them and jump over these hurdles, you're good to go and you're set. And I've had so many transformative challenges in my life.
I think that's King Solomon, I think, right?
I don't know. I don't know who it is.
Says, I'll grant you too. Either he says, I'll grant you whatever you want. And I think he says I think he asked for wisdom. And then he grants him that.
And it's
instead of just
like,
giving it to him.
Yeah. Like real life challenges. I remember the first thing that comes to mind was we were in a tough position, me, my wife, and my 2 kids at the time. I have 3 kids now. But when we had 2 kids and we were in that position in our lives where Rachel stopped working to focus on the babies and I went on my own to create, a business for our family, that year and a half of like not bringing in any money and not bringing any income, if you look at like the facts and the tax returns and my bank account, you'll be like, not a penny hit your checking account. So did you do like anything? Like, or were you just sitting back and not doing anything? And that's what it looked like. But in that time period, I had 7 deals under contract as a broker. And in that 18-month window, every single one of those deals did not go through.
Wow.
The first deal was an $180,000 net check to me that I got under contract, and I went to my wife at the time when we were on the brink of not having any money.
Right.
And I showed her the contract, and then I calculated my fee in front of her, and we started jumping in joy. $180,000, life-changing. 3 weeks later, this was a great deal. The buyer pulled out and the deal fizzled, and the seller that gave me the shot to off-market broker and to collect a fee on both sides said, I'm just gonna keep the asset. He still held onto the asset. His son ended up operating a business in it, and so that deal didn't go through. That same story happened 6 times in a row. It got to the point that it was very, very stressful with me, my wife, our kids.
Sure, that puts that into the relationship, especially when you have kids, dude.
It was very, very challenging. And it got to the point where Prologis offered me a job.
Really?
Biggest owner of industrial on the planet. I went to a conference and I met one of their top guys, and he said, I really like your style. It's very, very similar to your story when you were working with your brother at the med spa, where you had Frank reach out to you and said, dude, I like this dude.
Yeah.
I like this guy. Why don't you come and I'll teach you kind of the
Frank
trade.
Frank has seen me grow,
Yeah, yeah.
So that's cool.
But he had the eye for you, realizing that you had tremendous potential, and look at you now. And there's people that all bump into. We had an intern
There's people always watching you from the sidelines, man. Sure. They see you, and they see talent. Some people are in different positions, and
we had an intern this summer that is an absolute killer. And I was like, that guy's gonna be super successful. Yeah. And people just have the eye for it, and Frank identified you. Got to the point, I went to multiple conferences. I was trying every which way to get a deal.
So Prologis sought you out.
Yeah, so Prologis reached out to me. And at this point, I ended up saying, I can't transact the deal. I'm basically 0 for 7 on 6-figure commissions on each deal.
Wow.
What is going on?
Yeah.
But one thing that I had, my attitude was still high. Yeah. So and this is something that I preach to my team.
You're still hopeful.
The morning after a bust, right? When you're on the verge of closing a winner, a deal, and you're almost counting the dollars, and it gets taken from you for something out of your control, the most successful people that I've seen, their ability the next day to bounce back and to be positive and say, this is happening for me, not to me.
That's it.
This right here is happening for me. Let's go. And they bring the energy and they walk into the office early the next day instead of sleeping in or being sluggish and talking about the deal for the next few days. The people that can pivot and rebound the next day and come out like an animal are the ones that are ultra successful.
Those are the ones at the top.
They're the ones at the top.
That specific thing right there that you just said is what differentiates
That's the separator.
the brokers that are here compared to the top guys at the top.
That's the separator.
That's the separator. If you can pivot and shift in the middle of dropping, like 7 transactions, all 6-figure commissions, in the middle of the fire, you have a wife at home, you have 2 young kids depending on you. You're the breadwinner.
Yeah.
And there's nothing coming in, and those things happen. If you can pivot and say, I'm still going forward, that's what differentiates the top brokers in this industry to the guys at the bottom.
Dude, that's
it. That's the game changer.
It's everything. ProLaw just reached out to me and they said, Shane, we want to offer you a position. I interviewed with them a couple times, and I was on the verge of getting an offer. I got a soft offer from one of their top guys, and he said $200,000 salary and a bonus structure. We want you to join the team. So I called my wife. I'm driving home, and at this point, I'm actually driving from West Palm Beach because I picked up leasing assignments. I couldn't close any sales transactions. So I said, I'm going to go to every property owner and say I'm the top leasing agent in town. And I ended up getting a ton of business.
Wow.
So how I supported my family during an 8-month run is I would get a $4,000 leasing check. I would cover my overhead.
Wow.
And then we would go down to zero and I would land another 4,000 square foot bay, sign the deal. The landlord, I would go up to his office and say, can you hand me the check? I want to meet with you, but I needed the money. And I would pick up these $3,000 to $6,000 commissions by purely doing like lease it, and I took it really seriously. I was like, I got to get these spaces leased up. So one deal that I had, it was Harry Spritzer and Adam Robbins had a deal up in West Palm, Interstate Industrial, and they gave me the opportunity. I met with them in Miami Beach. They're like, you're in Aventura and you're in Miami, but you're pitching us that you could do this job in West Palm. And I said, I'll get your property filled up. I'm gonna go up there. I have family that lives in West Palm. I'm gonna stay there. I'll do whatever it takes. And I actually killed it. We had 8 vacancies at the time. They had a lease up strategy. I put my signs everywhere. I walked around town.
I think I remember that time, dude.
Yeah. I'm driving because I'm still really, really nervous about once this like leasing assignment ends, then what type thing. And I'm driving down from West Palm and I get this call from this big publicly traded company that's offering me this great salary. It's very cushiony. And I call my wife and I said, I think this is a good idea. For 1 year, hear me out. For 1 year, let's make this salary. I think I could crack like 250 over the next 12 months, salary plus bonus. And even though I'm going to be working for someone else.
You guys needed it.
What? Yeah,
at that point,
even though I want to be working for myself and build a company, of course, I think this is a good opportunity. She, on the other line, said, you take this job and you're quitting on our family. If you take this job, you're quitting on your dreams.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that guy that wanted to do something big, now you're going to work with someone, a group, a firm that's doing something big. You're going to be a number. I thought you were the guy that was going to do something big. Wow. You take that job and you're going to quit on your dreams and our family.
Yeah.
And I hung up and I started crying and I said,
I'm getting teary-eyed, dude. That was rough. That's like wherever she is out there. That's like
Yeah, Rachel
that's-
Decker.
yeah,
Rachel
man,
Decker.
Rachel.
Yeah,
That's
she's
that's
incredible.
that's a woman of God right there for sure.
I started crying and I said, my wife won't let me quit.
Yeah.
So I got home and she was like, I'm a little disappointed because you almost have a plan B. And if you have a burn the ships mentality,
Yeah.
where you literally take over the island, burn the ships, and you're there to conquer,
no looking back.
there is no offers,
Right.
right? And a couple weeks in a span, because I put some feelers out there. I'm looking for a job. Do you know of anyone?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's how stuff would come to me. And she was like, the fact that you have plan Bs cooking is
Yeah.
not a good sign
That's not a good
for
sign.
our future. And I said, you're right. Let's burn the ships and I'm going to do this. And about 2-3 months later, that West Palm Beach deal showed up. I got the call from Melanie and she said, let's do this deal for $5 million. And then, we got it moving.
Dude, that's awesome, dude. That is awesome.
It's nuts.
That's powerful.
Yeah, man.
That is good stuff. Everyone knows what type of properties you focus on, but if you want to go ahead and kind of share it for the viewers.
Multi-tenant industrial warehouse business parks. And we specialize in the small bay space. We have over 1,000 tenants right now in our portfolio. Our average bay size is about 2,000 to 4,000 square feet. 1,000 square feet up to probably 10,000 square feet in that bay size range is where we focus. And our focus, like specifically right now, is buying 100,000+ square foot business centers. So if there's a broker out there or if there's an owner that reaches out to us and they say, we have a 40,000 square foot deal in West Broward, we're probably not going to buy it. And just like through experience, it's the same amount of effort to buy, a $3 million deal versus a $30 million deal. And we really want to scale this portfolio and do something, tremendous.
Leaps and bounds, man.
And we really want to, buy at scale.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of 100,000+ square foot business parks, 150, 200. We're looking for like the bigger portfolio deals. And
What markets? Southeast or
southeast.
Just the southeast?
I would say Sun Belt except for California.
Okay.
Love all the major MSAs in Florida. It's hard to find yield in Miami.
I think you did some deals recently in Atlanta.
So we're right now under contract and set to close in about 2 to 3 weeks on a 175,000 square foot center in Atlanta. We have a deal right now. It's 200,000 square feet in Jacksonville. We closed on a 100,000 square foot park in Tampa earlier this year. Prior to that, we closed on a 250,000 square foot deal in Orlando.
They're monsters, dude.
They're
Monsters.
And that's the focus.
Yeah.
If your focus
that's what you're gonna go for.
and you're laser focused on exactly what you want, you're not going to be distracted. So if
Great advice. Tip of advice for anyone out there. One of my guys, they came from small bay leasing, right? And the guy had a family he had to support. And I told him, man, listen, it's a slow death. If you're just focusing on that and that's your only focus, I mean, you could be the greatest leasing guy out there, but eventually, dude, you have bills, you got to survive. So he came on board first year, cracks a $32 million deal, and I told him just focus on this, and he did it, So going back to your point, man, staying focused, laser focused on what you're going for, and just going for it, No plan B, abandon the ships, like your wife said.
So like abandon the ships, but to your point, it's if you're in residential sales, you shouldn't pick up any listing. You should be very specific.
Yeah.
I'm going to focus on this market. This is my 10-mile radius. And I'm going to focus on $5+ million deals, or even be more specific and say, I'm going to focus in this particular neighborhood. Anywhere from $5 to $10 million is my sweet spot. People will know you for that. They'll send you opportunities in that sweet spot. It will be known.
Yeah.
And you're not distracted with the $800,000 listing or the $20 million listing that comes once in a blue moon. And that's probably not going to come to you because you're not focused on that.
Right.
So
that's a great point right there, Shane.
in any industry.
Amazing.
If you're cold storage.
To be successful, and man, I'm speaking to myself on that. Like, you have to kind of turn down listings because it's going to take away your focus on, like, if you're a specialist in cold storage, which I have made a name for myself in cold storage, and obviously we do all industrial, but if you tend to shift and like, all right, get a listing over here for 2 million or get a list. Obviously, I'm grateful enough now where I have other agents where I can just pass those deals to. But in the beginning, I was taking everything. You know what I mean? Because you had to. But
Yeah, so just like that concept itself, that's a very, like a very green businessman is saying, hey, I'm just getting started, and that's totally fine in the first few chapters of your career,
Right, but not
because
after.
you need to produce, you know? Then you get laser focused on what you love and what you enjoy and the
Right.
conversations. And what I've realized is the bigger deals that we do, the more enjoyment I get, because
you're having fun
you know,
with it, dude.
yeah.
You're enjoying it.
the other day we went to 2 meetings in Manhattan. We were at a top, if not the top asset manager on the planet in their corporate boardroom overlooking all of Manhattan. And I said, if I'm doing $3, $4, $5, $6 million deals, we wouldn't have got their attention. And this is where I want to be. If these guys are at the top at a penthouse Wall Street office, like, I want to build this. This guy started with an idea, and the only reason why he got this is because he's been focused on acquiring businesses at scale. 50, 100, 150 transactions, $1 million transactions. So, and it could go, and it doesn't have to be big. You could scale a massive business.
Depends on what your vision is.
But you could scale a massive business by specializing in one product, whether it's $1 million homes. You just got to make sure you have the systems to scale it.
Right.
If you want to be big.
Awesome. Great pointer, man. Great pointer. We're gonna wrap up with this one, all right? I think we have, a lot of good stuff. But what advice would you give to someone or a younger broker who's looking to transition from brokerage or from where from property management over to the full-time investing?
Yeah, you got to work with an investor for, I would say 2 years if you have some experience. So if you're a broker and you've done some deals, whether it's leasing or investment sales, and you've run that process. So if you're representing a seller or a buyer in a transaction, you're gonna be on the emails and you're gonna be connected to legal, and you're gonna have to know you need clean title. You gotta get a survey.
Right.
You gotta get the phase 1. You gotta get the PCA. You gotta get all the DD items in order. If you're not seeing the investment process, the DD process, on after you get the deal, what it takes to close the deal, the lender pitches, the lender requirements, is it a flood zone, the certificates, the insurance, how do you, it's
that,
that,
A to Z.
yeah, that's a process. So if you get that as a broker, your next step is to run deals. So buy the deal, what's the next step? Is it a triple net deal where you have one tenant and you're just collecting a check? I wouldn't recommend that. You want to get into the value add space to create value. So 100,000 square foot center.
So you see the story from A to Z.
How do we transform it? What are we doing aesthetically? What kind of exterior CapEx, interior? How are you repositioning it? How are you branding your image on it? How are you elevating the net? If you're buying a deal that has a $2 million net, how can you get to 2 to 3? And you can't just do it by pushing rents. You have to put a new monument sign. You have to completely redo the landscaping, paint the asset, LED lights, redo the parking lot. And then you could go to the tenants and say, we got to bump you a little to market. And then you could create that pop.
Of course.
But you have to see that. How do contractors work? What do you need a permit for? What don't you need a permit for? You need to understand all that. You need to get on roofs. You need to literally jump on a roof.
Understand what a building is made of, right?
Yeah.
The concrete, the steel beams, the twin T. Understand more, a little bit of everything.
All that stuff.
To definitely be in that position. No, I'm with you 100%. Shane, man, it's been a really an honor to have you here, man. For real. I'm not just saying that, but it really has, man.
We got to flip the script a little. I did so much talking. There's so much I want to know about you and your family.
We'll do it at a later time, but no, for real, man. It's definitely an honor to have you on the
It was
pod.
a pleasure. Thank you so much for this.